Okay, so let's go to the top here, right? We said that if A is positive, okay, so let's write it here. A positive, then the parabola will open up, right? Opens up. Okay, and then A negative, the parabola will open down. Okay, opens down. So that's our first conclusion. Now, before we move on to type 2, okay, the stretching, shrinking. So we need to, I want to ask how many of you have heard of absolute value? Can you raise your hand if you know what absolute value does? Anyone heard of absolute value in grade 10? Only any? Okay, any? What do you remember about absolute value?
It's like when you have the two parallel lines on each side of the number.
Yeah, okay, so like that, two parallel line.
Yeah.
And then?
There's like a number inside the two parallel lines.
Yeah, so let's say we have a 5.
And the absolute value of 5 would just be 5, and the absolute value of -5 would still be 5.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You remember it correctly. So what absolute value does, right, at this moment, okay, it's just a symbol to tell you that please ignore the negative sign, okay? Make it positive. So whatever that goes inside, you make it positive, okay? So keep that in mind, okay? So these two bar, right, two bar on the side around the number is telling you if it's a positive number, it will just stay positive, okay? If it's a negative number, please ignore the negative sign, okay? That's all you need to know for now, okay? In grade 12, you will have a chapter on absolute value, okay? So don't worry about too much. Just remember absolute value right now. It just helps you to ignore the negative sign. So I will be talking about why I mentioned this later, okay? So just keep that on the side. Now let's look at the APQ for the next example, okay? So same thing, please write down the values for APQ first, okay? So what do you think the APQ are for this one? Colin?
Give me a second.
Okay.
Is it A is 2, P is 0, Q is 0?
That's correct. Very good. Okay. A is the number before the x squared, and that's the only number 2, right? P and Q, they have to be attached to add and subtract, right? There's apparently no add and subtract here, so it has to be 0. Okay. And then let's see what happened it does to the graph, right? Because before the A was 1, right? And now I make it into a 2. So how would that change the graph? Okay, so let's find out. But before we begin, right, we know this A is positive, right? And we know positive, it will open up. So we already know this graph will open up, all right? So we'll use the same point, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. Okay, so since it's the same drill, I'll let you complete the table and the graph together, okay? So you need to take the x, take the x, square that. After you square, you times it by 2, okay? Follow the order of operation. You do the exponent first, square, and then times 2. So please raise your hand when you finish both the graph and the table, okay? Okay, by now you should probably finish the table, right? Pretty straightforward. Square and then times 2. Jiawen, can I have your y values?
8,
8,
2,
2.
0, 2, and 8.
Okay, thank you. Please raise your hand if you finish the graph too. -2 is 8. -1, 2. 0, 0. 1, 2. 2, 8. Okay. So compare this graph with the parabola, the basic one. Okay, Ivy, Jiawen, and finish the graph. Please raise your hand. Okay, so compare these two, right? The one on the top and the one you just drew, right? And if I would like you to describe the shape, right? How it changed, what would you say, right? What would be the sentence? Putting your own words, what would you say what happened? Anyone wants to try? How would you describe what changed? Chris, what would you say?
Shrunk.
How does the shape change compared to the basic?
It's taller and skinnier.
Yeah, very good. Okay, those are pretty good words, right? Taller, right? It rises up faster, right? Goes up faster. So you can, for example, you can compare a point here, right? At 2, used to be 4. Now 2, it goes all the way up to 8, right? Goes up taller, right? And as you go up taller, then you get skinnier, right? If the axis doesn't change, right? So now you can also put them in numbers, right? Describe them in numbers. So if you compare the y value, the one I highlighted, right, with the one down here, so it's actually double, right? 4 becomes 8, 1 becomes 2, right? Everything times it by 2. So because it's going taller, so taller is up and down, right? So we will say vertically, right? Vertical means up and down. Vertically expand, or you can say stretched, okay, by factor of 2. Okay, you can add the word factor of 2, or you can just write fact by 2. Okay, so the word for stretching, you can either use expand or use stretch. Okay, so you can write it down here underneath. For the homework, I would like you guys to write expand. Okay, most textbook they use expand. And shrink, you can use the word compress. Okay. So instead of stretch and shrink, please write expand and compress for your homework. I put stretch and shrink just so that it's in alphabetical order, right? Reflection is the R, and then S, okay, and then T. So when you are doing the transformation, you always go in this order. Okay, so this one, you get a vertical expand by factor of 2. So you can see it, the 2 that you got here has to do with the value of A. So not only that it controls open up and down, it can also make the graph expand, right? Become taller. Okay, any questions? All right, so let's move on to next graph. So the next one, we have also the A value as well, right? A is half now, right? P is 0 and Q is 0. Okay, so we're gonna do the same thing. -2, -1, 0, 1, 2. And for the y, you need to take 1/2 times the x squared. Okay, so same drill as before. Please complete the table and graph. All right, and raise your hand when you're done. Okay, thank you, Harry. Yep. And also for Marcus, I just returned your homework, okay? And you did very good, okay? Almost everything is correct, but just something to pay attention is the number of steps, okay? You took too many steps to do that. Yeah, like in the notes, we always do 1, 2, 3, right? Step 1, 2, 3, all in one line, okay? So try to do it that way instead of one by one. Okay, Marcus?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, actually, sorry, not Marcus, Waylon. I think it was Waylon, yeah. Okay. Okay, if you finish both graph and table, please raise your hand. Okay, Braden, can I get your table for Y?
Y is -2, 2,
Yeah,
-1, 0.5,
good.
0, 0,
Mm-hmm.
1, 0.5,
Mm-hmm.
2, 2.
Okay, very good. All right, so let's plot the point. Please raise your hand if you finished. -2, 2, -1.5, 0, 0, 1.5, 2, 2. Okay, Harry, Jiawen, Marcus, are you guys done? The graph? Okay, so you can see this time, right? Compare with the basic, right? The top left corner is wider, right? Not as skinny as the previous one, right? And it's shorter as well, right? Instead of going up to 4, it only goes up to 2, right? Highest is only going up to 2. So this one, if I would like you to describe it, what will be the sentence then? Does anyone wants to try? What's the sentence? Any volunteer? How do you say this in sentence? Vertically what? Anyone? Annie, how about you? Can you tell us how to describe this one?
Vertically compressed
Mm-hmm. Go on.
by 2.
Okay, compressed by, okay, now the number that you compress, you always look at the value of A.
Oh, by half.
Yeah, because the numbers are getting smaller. That's why it's compressed by half. That's why it's smaller, right? If you take the number times it by 2, it actually gets bigger, right? So it's half, so everything got halved, okay? So 1/2. Now there's one more question. Remember I mentioned to you about absolute value, okay? So what if the A is a negative, okay? So for example, if I put a negative sign in front, right? Look at the green, right? I have a negative. So A is -half. Remember negative just makes the whole graph opens down. But if it's a negative half, it will be still compressed, okay? But then it will be compressed by going downwards, right? So let me separate the graph, okay? I'll erase the green one. So for the red one is y equals half x squared. Now, if there's a negative, then it will go downwards. Okay, all the points will be reflected over x-axis, right? Remember that, R? So it'll be going down like that. So for the green, the equation will be negative half x squared. So when you try to describe the green graph, you still say it opens down, right? Because A is negative. And when you describe the compression, you still say it's compressed by half, okay? Please do not say compressed by negative half, right? So you only look at when you try to describe compression, you only look at the number without the negative sign, okay? Are we clear on this part? Can you raise your hand if you understand what I meant? Okay, when you try to describe stretching, shrinking, okay, ignore the negative sign. Waylon, do you understand?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, please raise your hand, okay, so I know you got it. All right, so now let's put it in a conclusion, right? So if A, right, remember when we describe the type 2, we ignore the negative sign, so I need to put absolute value of A. Right? It means that it doesn't matter what the A is, you always pretend it's negative. Pretend it's positive, right? Ignore negative. If that number is greater than 1, so like 2, right? Even if A is negative 5, but absolute value will become a 5, right? Greater than 1. Anything bigger than 1, then it will be expand. Okay? And then the second part, if the absolute value of A is less than 1, so for example, the example we have here could be half, could be negative half, right? Doesn't matter. When after you ignore negative sign, if the number is smaller than 1, it will make the whole graph compress. Okay, so you'll just say compressed by half. Okay, don't say compressed by negative half. Okay, be careful. So these are the important rule. Okay, you can highlight that. Rule number 1, rule number 2. Okay, number 1 rule, number 2 rule. Because these are very important. Okay, so I would like everybody to try to get these into your head by repeating it several times. Okay, so can you have your turn on your mic? Okay, we're gonna repeat these together. Okay, so everybody please turn on your mic. All right, good. Okay, so I'll say first and then you guys can repeat after. Okay, so A positive opens up. Everyone, please say it out. A positive opens up.
A
Positive.
A positive opens up.
Opens up.
Very good. Okay, one more time. A positive opened up.
A
A positive opens up.
Up.
Okay, next one. A negative opened down.
A
Negative
negative
opens
opens down.
Down.
Very good.
Down.
Once again, A negative opens down.
A
Negative opens down.
down.
Yeah, so it's like
Down.
you try to remember the telephone number, right? And you don't have a pen. So what you do is try to recite several times, right? Try to remember it until you grab a pen, right? Have a paper to write down. So saying it out, right, helps you remember, right? Okay, next one, let's say together too. Okay, absolute value A greater than 1, expand.
Absolute
Absolute value of A.
Expand.
expand.
Yeah, greater than 1. Okay, next one. Absolute value A less than 1 compress.
Absolute
Absolute value.
Value of A.
Compress.
One compress.
Yep, very good. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Okay, you can turn off your mic now. Usually in class, okay, if you are in class with me, right, probably we'll divide into little groups, okay, and then each one say a couple more times. But you gotta do it on your own time now, okay? Remember these rules. So we condense what we learned in the past hour into 2 sentences, okay? Okay, next part is the third one. Translation, right? T. Translation got to do with moving, okay? It's not the translation of language, okay? It's not translating English to Chinese, okay? This translation here is talking about moving things. So we can either move the graph, go up, or we can move it to go down, okay? We can move it to the left side, we can move it to the right side, sideways, right? We have 2 directions to move, actually 4, right? Up, down, left, and right. So let's look at the first one, okay? First example, we'll start with writing out the APQ. Okay, so please raise your hand when you found the APQ. It's already in the standard form, okay? You don't need to complete square. Just think about what should the APQ look like, the values. Okay, write it down and raise your hand. Remember, A is the number at the very front, right? Q is after the square, right? And then P should be inside the bracket. Okay, please raise your hand if you got the APQ. Okay, can I have Jenny? What's your APQ?
My A is 1, my P is 0, my Q is -3.
Excellent. Okay, very good. All right. So in front you have an invisible 1, so that's the A. After the square you get -3, so that's a Q. And there's no add and subtract in the bracket, so P is nothing. So this is the first question we have a Q, right? Every question we had before, P and Q are 0. And based on the value of A here, we know it opens up, right? And because this number is not bigger than 1, right? It's not smaller than 1. So when you try to describe the stretching, shrinking, you just say none. There's nothing. No expand, no compress, okay? All right, so we'll do the same thing, make a table first. -2, -1, 2. And for the y value, this time you need to not only square, you have to subtract 3, okay? So I'll let you complete the graph as well. Raise your hand after you get the graph. -2 squared is 4. 4 minus 3 should be 1, okay? First y should be 1. Please raise your hand when you finish graphing. Okay, Angela, can I have your y values? Angela?
Oh, sorry. I thought 1, -2, -3, -2, and 1.
Okay, thank you. Looks good. Okay, so let me plot them out. -2 is 1. -1 is -2. 0, -3, and then the other side is symmetrical, right? Opens up as we predicted, right? A is positive, opens up. Okay, Evan, Harry, Marcus, have you finished the graph yet? Yeah, okay. So please compare with the last graph, okay, we had before, right? The basic one, okay? And compare with the new one, okay? So it is at a different place now, right? So if you want to describe in a sentence, what would you say what happened to the graph? Ivy, what would you say? Compare with the basic, what happened?
Translate.
Okay, and then more.
Translate by -3.
Which way?
Up.
Goes up. This one higher than the basic one? The basic one, let me use the dashed line, okay, to show you. Basic one is here. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think it's here, right? This is the basic one. Is it getting higher or lower?
Lower.
Yeah, lower by how much?
3.
3, right? Very good. Okay. Yeah, so compare, you can draw a dashed line, right? So if you if you don't want to flip back and forth, right? Look at the green one, it's the old one, the basic, right? And then the new one, the red one, is x squared minus 3. Okay, so it's been moved down 3 units. Okay, we can use the word translate. Down by 3 units. Okay, so by comparing the values of APQ, we can see that the Q controls the moving up and down, right? And because it's a -3, negative tells you it's a downward, right? Negative means down. And together you call that down 3. Okay, so Q controls up and down. So if you want to move it up, then Q has to be positive. Okay, so remember, do not say if Q is -3. Okay, please don't say down -3 units. Then it's like double negative here, right? Because down is already negative. So never say down -3. Okay, or you say up -3. That's doesn't make sense. Okay, so just remember, positive is up, negative is down, and then you just describe how many steps. Okay, so let's write down the rule for this one. Okay, we can put it here. Q controls up and down, either up or down. Okay, if it's up, it'll be positive. If it's down, it'll be negative. Okay. All right, so can you raise your hand if you finished writing down the notes here? I don't want to go too fast, right? So let me know if you finished copying. Raise your hand. Okay, Colin, almost done? Yep, okay. So let's look at the next one, right? So this one, let's do the same thing, write out APQ. So please raise your hand again if you got the values for APQ for this one. It's already in the standard form, okay? You don't need to do anything. Just write out APQ and raise your hand. Okay, you should be done by now. It's just writing out APQ. Harry, what's your APQ values?
I'm not finished. I'm working on my mouse, so I accidentally raised my hand.
Okay, it's okay. I'll go over with you, right? What do you think the APQs are?
Is it A is 1,
Yeah,
P is 0,
P is 0,
and then 9?
9. Okay, I don't see any 9 there. How'd you get 9?
3
Okay,
times 3.
okay, remember I told you that which values are the easiest one to find first?
A,
And which
P?
A and Q.
Oh, A and Q.
Yeah, A is the number at the very front. So what number do you see at the very front?
1?
Yeah, this one, okay? The invisible one, they didn't show it, but it's invisible, okay? And where do you find the Q?
The last one?
Q is always after the what? You remember?
Behind the P?
Yeah, of course, behind the P, but it's always after the square, okay? You have to remember it's always after the square. The square we have is right here, right? What number is after the square?
0?
Nothing, yes, okay? So your Q is actually should be 0, okay?
Okay.
So what do you think the P is then? Where do you find the P then?
Between the brackets?
Yes, P is always inside the brackets. So what's the value for P?
9?
Huh? In the bracket, you don't see any 9, right?
Oh, my bad. -3.
For P, you need to flip the sign.
3.
Yes. Okay. APQ is very, very important. Okay. So make sure before you leave the class today, right? Everybody should know how to get APQ. Right? It's gonna affect everything we do. Okay, for this whole chapter. So be careful. So we have P and Q, right? This last time, right? The last question we had Q, right? Q is -3, it moves down 3, right? We had Q controls up and down. So instead of Q, we have P this time. So any guess what it will do to the graph? What does P control now? Anyone wants to take a guess? When P equal to 3, what will happen to the graph? Let me draw the original first. Anyone? What will happen to the new graph? If Q controls up and down, right? When P equal to 3, what will happen? Anybody?
It will become wider.
Right.
Wider. Wider will be something to do with the A, right? Make it more shorter or taller, okay? It doesn't change the shape.
Does P control left and right?
Left and right, yeah? Okay, so P controls left and right, but which way though? Is it left or is it right? Any guess? Colin, what do you think? Would it
Right?
be to the right? How do you know it's, why do you think it's right?
Because if Q is positive and it went up, all right? And my guess is that if it's positive, it goes to the right.
Okay, that's a very logical guess. Very good. Okay, positive is on the right side or going upwards, right? So if it's moving to the right, it's going to change the the X value this time, right? Before it was the Y value got pulled down. Now we need to change the X value to the right side. If you look at all the X value we've been using so far, it's always -2 to start, right? If I move -2 to the right by 3, okay, where would it go then? -2 takes 3 steps to the right. What's the number then? Anyone?
One.
Yeah, very good. Okay, -2 plus 3 will be 1. So we will start our X value at 1. Okay, so we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and let's see what happened to the Y value. So Y value would do the same thing. Okay, Y equals to X, right? Whatever X you got, minus 3, and then square. Okay, so please complete the table and graph, then raise your hand. Okay. I'll do the first one for you guys. So 1 goes in, 1 minus 3, that's -2, square. So your first Y value should be 4. Okay, so please finish the graph and raise your hand. Okay, Waylon, can I have your Y values? Waylon, are you there?
What?
Yep. What's your Y values?
So when x is 1, y is 4. When x is 2, y is 1. When x is 3, y is 0. And when x is 4, y is 1. And when x is 5, y is 4.
Thank you. Okay, very good. Please raise your hand if you finish the graph. Okay, so let's quickly draw the picture. 1, 4, right? 2, 1, right? And then so on. Okay, so he's correct, right? It's moving to the right, right? 1, 2, 3, moving to the right by 3. So we just say in sentence here, translate 3, or, okay, translate right. Say the direction first, okay? Right 3 units. Okay, so if it's positive, it will be either to the right or going up, okay? Just think about number line or your coordinate, right? Right side is positive, left side is negative, up is positive, down is negative, right? It should be pretty straightforward, just like something you've known before, okay? No trick about it. So let's write down the rule for this one. So P controls left and right. Okay, right and left. Okay, so remember left side is negative, down is negative. Okay, so let's highlight this. So this is your rule number 3. Okay. All right, so if you got everything so far, please raise your hand because we're gonna combine everything. Because that will be what your homework will be about, okay? It's combining the 3 rules together in one question. Raise your hand if you have no questions so far. Brandon, do you have any question? Harry, Waylon? Okay, all right, so let's try a few questions. We have 4 questions here. We might go a little bit over time, okay? So bear with us. So we'll start by writing out the values of APQ. After you get APQ, describe the transformation. That's the RST, okay? So that I'll go over first one with you, right? So A, P, Q, and then you write R, S, T, like that. So what is the value of APQ, Marcus, for this one?
A would be -2.
Go on.
P would be I'm not sure. Would it be 1?
No. Which number is easy to get? APQ, which one is the easiest one?
A and Q.
Yeah, so let's get a Q first.
Q is -4.
Yeah. Now to get a P, where do you look at?
It's 3.
You need to flip. Remember, you have to flip the P.
-3.
Yeah, okay. So please remember that. It will affect your RST, okay? Now let's write out the RST, okay? R is talking about open up and down, okay? So you just need to tell me whether it opens up or down. So Jenny, is it open up or down?
It should open down because the A is negative, right?
Very good. Okay, so that's our first rule, right? A positive open up, A negative open down. Okay, for stretch, you just need to tell me whether it's vertical expand by what or vertical compress by what, okay? So what do you think? Let's have Harry. What is the stretching and shrinking here? Harry. Vertically what? Are you there, Harry? Please turn on your mic.
Oh.
Yeah.
I went to the washroom.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So can you answer the second part, the stretching, shrinking?
Stretching.
Is it vertically expand or compress for this one?
Compress.
How do you know?
Because it's in the notes.
It's in the notes, right? Which part? Which part? Which page? What's the rule for expand and compress? Can you tell me the rule?
The thing you marked in yellow.
Yeah, can you say it out? Say out the rule, please. Absolute value of A.
Absolute value of A, if it's smaller than that, it expands.
No, bigger than 1. That's called bigger.
Bigger than 1, then it expands.
Mm-hmm.
And then if A is smaller than 1, it compresses.
Yeah, so for this one, what's the absolute value of A?
-2.
A is -2, right? Absolute value of -2 means you ignore the negative.
Uh-huh.
Okay?
So
what do you get?
2.
2, okay? So is that bigger than 1 or less than 1?
Bigger than 1.
Bigger than 1, then what do you say?
Expand.
Expand, okay? So vertically expand by
2.
2, okay. Now next one is the translation, okay? Can I have Chris, what's the translation? Which way does it move?
It moves up and down.
Which way?
Up and down.
Which one? Up or down? Which one? You have to pick one. He cannot move up and also down at the same time, right?
Down.
Down, how many?
4.
Okay. Anything else?
It's
Okay, Annie, yeah, you can check the video later, okay, and also check the homework, okay? Yeah?
does it move to the right?
If you want to check left and right, what number do you look at?
P.
P, okay, is P positive or negative?
Negative. I mean negative.
Yeah, if negative, then it will go which way?
Right. No, left.
Left side will be negative, okay? Look at the number line. Left side is always negative. So it'll be left 3. Got it?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we have 3 more questions, okay? I'll let you guys finish this right now. And then when you finish all 3, okay, you can raise your hand. So find APQ and then write out the RST. Okay, for B, let's double check the APQ. Okay, 310. Okay, by now you should be on C already. Okay. Okay, Evan, can you tell me the APQ for C?
The APQ for C is negative 0.5 for A, -2 for P, and for Q is 3.
Yep, very good. Please raise your hand if you finish all 3 questions. Okay, Jenny, what's your APQ for last one?
It's A is 2, P is 0, Q is -4.
Okay, great. Okay, so let's go over the RST for B. Okay, this one A is positive, opens up. Okay, if A is 1, then you just say it's still opened up. Okay, but then S will be none. This one, okay, Angela, what's the S?
It uh does it not expand because it's 1
Huh?
and it's not.
You need to look at A. A is 3.
Oh, sorry, my bad. So it vertically expands by 3.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. By 3. Okay, translate. Waylon, what's the translation for this one?
It's down 4 and it doesn't move left or right.
Question B. Which one are you looking at?
It doesn't move.
Doesn't move at all?
Wait, let me see. I think I got this wrong.
Okay, take a look.
Yeah, it moves right by 1.
Yep, very good. Right 1. Okay, P is 1, so you move right by 1. Okay, next, last one. Right then, are you done? Harry, Marcus, are you guys done? Okay. Colin, what's your RST for C?
I said it opens down,
Down, yeah.
vertically compressed by 0.5,
Compressed by 0.5, very good.
shifts left by 2, and it goes up by 3.
Okay, and up 3. Okay, perfect. Last one. Harry, what's your RST for the last one?
R is down.
Why is it down?
Uh, because there's negative.
Where? Do you look at
Q.
A, P, Q, which one?
Then opens up
How do you know?
because A is positive.
Yes, okay. So that's rule number 1, okay? Open up. Okay, next one, S.
Vertically expand by 2.
Yep, very good. By 2. And then P.
Down 4.
Down 4. Okay, very good. Okay, so each one of the APQ controls different things. So make sure you review the question, review the notes, okay, before you begin the homework. And your homework, you will also need to complete the corrections too. Okay, so I'll post them later on today, and you guys can have a good weekend. Okay, thanks for staying late. I'll see you next week. Okay, goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.